AI.
Yeah, did you see Elon Musk?
Well, whatever it is,
I
you
can't
know, I
stand
mean,
him. I really cannot stand him.
and I was kind of looking at buying a new car electric, but you know,
All of
think
Europe's electric. Europe is
Yeah.
almost, they're either hybrid or electric. There's
Right.
100% gas anymore.
Right.
None.
Oh, wow.
Zero cars, it's
Right.
not just gas.
and I,
In Sweden saying by 2028, all good morning, everybody. Welcome to the green room.
We're
We're
back.
back after a school vacation.
that is how I feel like it. You know, the kids have been in school for about 3 or 4
I
weeks
know.
already. It's kind of crazy.
It is
But
crazy.
in
Why-
our day, of course, you know, you
It's
kind of
after
started
Labor
after
Day.
Labor Day.
It's- I feel like if life starts after Labor Day
Yeah, I do
and
too.
for summer, and
Up north, you got to put away your white shoes.
it's
and
no
kind
more
of stuff
wild.
like that. I know.
Like Florida wears white all year round. but
Welcome
yeah.
back. You had a great
Oh
vacation.
my
and
God,
Listen, both
phenomenal.
Ruta and I were, you know, really had fantastic trips overseas.
Fantastic trips.
You know, I was in the part of Europe I was in, and of course you were in, you know,
I was
Lithuania,
Lithuania, Sweden,
Paris as well. Right.
We were just talking about electric cars, and so it was interesting.
Well, the world's changing.
The world is
Period.
changing, and the United States is a little slow to go on some stuff. Like honestly, on
Some
everything.
You
Honestly,
know, everything. It's funny, you know.
a
I don't
lot
know.
of stuff. A lot of stuff. Like honestly, technology. There, Sweden is already cashless.
You do
cannot
get
use
surprised when you go to
You
places.
cannot use
Right.
cash anymore. They
Turkey also, I was amazed, was very, you know, advanced.
You know, like everything
Sure.
is everything's done by your eyes.
Yeah,
no,
recognition,
recognition.
AI,
They're
yeah.
way ahead of us, like way
Crazy.
ahead of us.
Yeah.
And I was like, for cars, everybody is either hybrid or electric. There's no 100% gas anymore there.
Sure.
They're everything in their power sources, like everything are lights that shut off. They conserve energy.
Right.
They recycle everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
incredible.
It is. So here we are in America.
America.
Back in the room, someone got us
America.
100
It's a little slow.
Well, I love America
I
too.
love America, but it's so
149th episode of the Green Room, right? So what I was struck when I was traveling, and I think we may have talked about it since I've been back, but I know you had the same experience. Americans everywhere,
Oh my God.
traveling everywhere, spending money everywhere,
Yeah.
living good, free American lives
Yeah.
everywhere.
Well, this year is the year they said more people in America finally got passports because many Americans did not have passports. And they're traveling and they're
For
traveling a
sure.
lot.
Some haves and have-nots. I mean, I got it for sure. But in general, I mean, I think Americans in general are living a good life right
I
now.
think so. I do.
And there's such a debate about the attitude of the country and where we're going in the country and the polling and this and that. I don't believe it because what I see
Either.
are happy, free
Traveling
Americans.
Americans.
And every once in a while, I got to look at these guys, you know, drinking their bourbon and smoking their cigar on the cruise ship. We're bitching and whining about the country and everything.
Yeah,
and I look at it, I say, what do you have to complain
What are
about?
you complaining
You
about?
made
Yeah.
it. You're on this cruise ship. You're
Yeah.
living life.
You're
Why
living
would you
life.
worry about somebody else trying to make it
I don't get it.
right?
And I
You
don't
know,
understand.
especially when you get into some of the ethical, you know, decisions that people are trying to impose with the book burning and the learning.
I have to say one thing.
Please.
Europe's critique of the United States is not a favorable one. They think we're back in like the Middle Ages, really.
Well-
They're like, what is going on with your country? What's with the book banning? What's with abortion rights? They just see everything. They're like looking at it and they're shaking their heads. They're like, why are you taking people's rights away? Everybody wants to give more
Why
rights.
are you taking people's
rights.
rights away?
It's a big
Fear,
fear.
racism, power. You know, but it's so distressing.
It
And
is
this
distressing.
is a checkpoint time.
It is.
And really, you know, we're going to commit, you know, we're heading into political season.
It is right now.
We'll start to bring some candidates in and then, you know,
Season up here,
right.
elections, but yeah, we'll bring some candidates in. But the other thing that was also astounding to me was the lack of homelessness. Sweden, I didn't see one homeless, and they said there are no homeless because if they see that, you're put into a program.
Sure.
You're put into, if you're an immigrant even, and they've had a lot from Syria, from Palestine, they put them into like this, they give them housing, and then what they do is they give them education, they give them trades training.
Well, it's a safety net.
It's a safety net. So
Yeah.
then they produce and they're actually then contributing to society. Lithuania, I didn't see any homelessness.
Listen, if they weren't up there looking
Paris,
into
I
the
saw them
violent
too.
crime family,
Oh
whatever
my
the hell
God,
that is.
that is.
Listen, to
really-
me, and I can look at the camera on this one. Listen, we're not stupid. out here, okay, in the country, okay, McCarthy, and I don't know if you saw Matt Gates.
Matt Gates, I can't.
No,
I can't.
listen, I
I
mean,
can't even.
but it wasn't total and immediate and total compliance.
Yeah.
That's like something we would hear from the OMU,
I
by
know.
the way. God forbid.
God forbid, yeah.
My point is that there's real issues to solve. There's a labor crisis in the country and a lot of people that want to get here. So you train them to be able to do the jobs that are available here in the country.
Well, here you go. Like, you know, our wonderful Governor DeSantis with his new immigration policy in Florida, there are no roofers left. Thank you very much, DeSantis. Now, instead of waiting another 6 months after waiting a year for your roof, you're going to wait another 6 months because there are no roofers. And American workers don't want to go up on a 105-degree roof in the burning sun in Florida in the summertime to put a roof on. So they don't have tradesmen.
It's unintended consequences. It's unintended consequences
trade and put them
of laws that appeal to a red meat base.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just don't get it. And as you know, because we'll get to some cannabis talk now, you know, soon. My point is in 2023, you have to look at 2023 for the era that it is.
But that's the thing.
And it's so frustrating, you know, to see these old leaders, and I'm not getting down on Biden. I'm not, because I think he's done a hell of a job. I do mean it. But you saw that Romney, you know, is stepping down, is not going to run, and he's calling for new generation. He looks younger than any of them.
You know what? And I'm sorry, Pelosi's running again. And I'm sorry, it is time to let younger generations up. Honest to God, it's enough. Like, really, you guys have had your run. They've been there for 40 freaking years. They should have term limits to begin with, so they don't reach.
You know, David Ignatius has ignited a firestorm because he came out yesterday with a very strong op-ed in the Washington Post, I think, you know, that says, you know, the main objective is to keep Trump out of the White House
that's
again.
the main objective.
Period.
Period.
Do I want a lot of the crazy right-wing policy, 6-week abortion ban,
don't want that.
burning of books,
that, no.
Controlling of what you're going to learn? This,
But
of
you know
course
what?
not. But the criminality, okay, of Trump, okay, we just need to keep out of the White House.
To stay out. And honestly,
but my stupid Mitch McConnell. Okay, we know that if there's a scratch of whatever on Biden, okay, Trump is bleeding from a cut off arm. Okay, come on.
You cannot even.
And what you're not. And I'm telling you, watch what happens in these hearings. Democrats are going to start turning around the questioning to Jared Kushner's $2 billion. Okay, Clarence Thomas and Judge Alito's. You know, trips, this, that, whatever.
Yeah, come on.
So if you really want to talk corruption,
honestly,
you know, so we're not stupid. And I'll be honest with you, I don't believe in the polling. I think Americans in general are pretty happy right now. Economy is okay.
It's okay.
Oh, compared to what's overseas too, because the gas prices, as you say,
that's always have been there though.
That's
the gas
true.
prices have always been crazy. But
I guess Great Britain is, you know, I saw a story yesterday. They're going to have a recession. So
the problem was Brexit. It bit in the ass. They thought it was going to be so great, and now that they're not part of the EU, time to pay the piper, and unfortunately the piper can't pay anymore. And that's the
You're just traveling easy traveling around, you know, Europe.
Once you're in the union, once you enter the European Union, any country in the union, once you go inter-country travel, you don't need to show passports anymore, even for an American. I traveled freely, no passport required. Like you can go, I went from Sweden to Lithuania, no passport required, Lithuania, Paris, to France. No passport required. So once you go in between the EU, you can travel freely.
It was busy and there were tourists.
I mean, honestly,
we were stunned by what was going on.
And right across from us, there was a couple there from New York. There was a whole group of Lithuanian American kids at this Lithuanian castle called Trakai. There was a whole group of students, and I'm like, "Oh, what are you guys doing here?" They're like, "Oh, we had a couple weeks till we start school. We're like, we wanted to see the Baltics." So I'm like, they're traveling.
There are people around.
Everybody's
and there's hemp products, of course, everywhere.
Products everywhere.
It's so, you know, we're going to get into
cannabis, but hemp.
So where we're at is just once again in 2023, just this unique
weird place.
I call it a myriad of idiocy and lunacy, to the extent of the different rules in different countries, different states, of course, different rules about different products.
Yeah, it's amazing
Right.
what products are okay and
You
what
know,
are.
what's okay and what's not.
bizarre.
So
It's
what
very
came
bizarre.
out last week, everybody? So it was funny, Ruta, because I said to Don, and Don, I love what you put together in the back, but I know you weren't in your creative mood yesterday, because when I said to
The
Don,
volcano.
yeah, I wanted the volcano spewing all these issues that have, kind of come up since, Ruta's been gone. But no, really, we had Dustin Robinson in, who was a fantastic guest. He's Mr. Cannabis Law in Florida. It was a great green room. We talked a lot about a lot of these things, but this particular issue, as far as what's going to go on in Florida, if and when it's going to get on the ballot, my prediction, everybody, and I'll go on record today even stronger than I was. Dustin thought actually 70-30. Isn't that what he said, Don? I think 70-30, that he believed that it was going to make it through Supreme Court review and get on the ballot. Okay.
I don't think so.
Right. I couldn't be more opposite. 30-70, if not even 10% yes. I'd be amazed. And 90% no, because here's the point. That's an election. That's November of 24. Okay. We've heard of voter suppression, of course.
Oh, yeah.
The Republicans don't want to drive, voters to the polls, and especially young voters to the polls.
So
we're going to be protecting abortion rights already, and then if you put the legalization of marijuana on the ballot as well,
that's going to
it is,
and it's going to be straight down the vote.
Absolutely,
straight down the ballot.
Straight down the. So that's dangerous for them.
It's very dangerous.
So my prediction is that
they won't
get on the ballot. But Dustin actually, said that it would, but we had a great show. But this issue of the rescheduling, and it's very important to pronounce it right, not D, which is what we want, but rescheduling actually hadn't even come up and when we had Dustin. So here it is, you're back. The volcano continues to spew, about all kinds of things.
Understand, like the descheduling, it's still not,
so here's what rescheduling does. And there's a story to it. Cannabis was put into Schedule 1 designation, which means severe potential for abuse.
Like that kind. No,
heroin, LSD, severe potential for abuse and no medical purpose, which stunted the research of cannabis for now coming up on 53 or however many years it's been. The Schaefer Commission that was actually put together by Republican President Richard Nixon to put together the schedule of drugs, which was actually a Republican predominant panel. Even back then, they were more conservative. But the point is, they came back with a recommendation that cannabis should not even be on the schedule. It should be treated as alcohol with taxation and regulation. And Nixon, upon reading the report, and this is actually in a congressional record because Haldeman or Ehrlichman, one of those two, it's like they always go together. Haldeman, Ehrlichman. One of the two testified in committee that Nixon literally ripped up the report and said he needed a drug war against blacks, Hispanics, college students, and cannabis fit the bill perfectly. And it served the purpose of law enforcement, still does, listen, sniff and search, this, that, whatever, filling the prison industrial complex, of course.
Oh, it's a machine, money making.
That Schedule 1 designation, the worst part of it, is that it's stunted research. I mean, that's bad, it's horrible.
And access.
So now what happened was back in California, they went through the whole process, and the Constitutional Amendment of California allowed them to, by freedom of speech, begin to recommend cannabis. And here we are 20 years or so later, and we're still operating under that same protection by free speech, but a doctor such as me recommending a substance that's illegal by the federal government. So it's a disaster.
It's a disaster for vets. It's a disaster for the elderly because of costs.
It's a disaster for everybody. So it's always been a part of the drug war, so to speak, getting the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, to go along with the FDA and Housing and Human Services. There's a bunch of moving parts. So what you need to know that happened last week, because I've heard it misrepresented in a lot of different circles. The House and Human Services Committee that was tasked by the administration, right, to do a review of cannabis's status in the schedule.
Yeah.
That's what this is. So they came back finally with a recommendation, okay, to take cannabis out of Schedule 1 and put it into Schedule 3. Now, that's another next step of the discussion, but the point is it keeps it on the schedule, which to me, listen, it does have its positives, and you can talk quality, absolutely opens research, but gives it to pharma in a lot of ways that may be dangerous. So it needs to be properly done. What it doesn't do, it doesn't decriminalize cannabis in any way, shape, or form.
Federally, it's still.
It does. It makes it a drug.
It's a drug still,
so to speak.
It does open the door a little bit for the dispensary side.
Well, listen, the insurance companies may begin to pay for patients' medicines. We'll see.
But
they're going to fight like hell not to do that, of course.
It's still not federal. So the fact that it's still federally not recognized, it's still insurance right now will not go on board. But the taxation for the dispensaries, it opens up where they were under Section 280.
And we have to get safe banking, taken
Banking
care of, which
will
is
not
another.
change. That does not
that doesn't change either.
Nope, that does not change.
So what I've always said is that the unique part of cannabis, and there's so many unique parts to the practice, but it's a plant. Can never necessarily be replicated, even from batch to batch. Terpene profiles, flavonoids, the other minor components of cannabis. What we know that pharma's interest is, and absolutely always will be to make singular compounds out of cannabis, which has its good and its bad. Isolated cannabinoids, we know, don't work typically as well as a full spectrum product, right? And that's in the hemp world as well, which is an entirely another green room. But the point is, even an isolated CBD without the small amounts of the other minor cannabinoids, notwithstanding THC doesn't work as well. And we know that synthetic THC, Marinol, right, is a horrible drug, right? Yeah. So we talk in the medical cannabis space about whole plant cannabis medicine, right? That includes THC, Delta-9, we almost got change the signs down. That's another task. You know what? I need like a little sticker, a Delta-9 sticker that I can put. Yeah, because there's so much.
That's a really
that's an easy way of solving it.
It is an easy way of
solving it. Because every day, is, and listen, everybody. So hopefully telehealth is going good for people. It's going great for us. Our patients love it.
Love it.
Listen, there's some logistical hassles because paperwork needs to be signed appropriately.
Everything electronic, it just has to be done.
But there's no doubt patients love it,
They do. They love it.
And it's
so much easier.
It saves time. It saves gas money. It keeps people doing. And that's how I tend to open the telehealth visits. With my patients, hey, you're able to obviously do what you want to be doing, where you want to be doing it, be it work and or play and or safety. But I had a cancer patient yesterday who was bedridden,
oh my God. See, for someone like that, it
goes both, listen, the cannabis practice, everybody is a up and down poignant experience.
It is.
But in general, and getting back to the topic, each and every one of our patients with the appropriate education, right? And we had a patient yesterday. So exciting. We had a patient yesterday from Australia who had their card.
Really?
Yes, my first person who's emigrated here from Australia who actually had a medical card. And all they have available is oral products. Yes.
That's cool.
So it was
a neat thing to have.
It was such a fun visit because we were able to really go into the product room and show her and her husband.
Wow.
They were amazed. And when I mentioned a patch, for example, and there's that's
cool.
That's once again the 30-second beauty of what medical cannabis is in 2023. And just to kind of not wrap up this, this discussion on it, but we don't want pharma to overwhelm what we're doing in whole plant medicine at the risk of them taking it over on research to just research isolated cannabinoids.
And I have a feeling that's going to happen.
Well, listen, here's my point. This is what we have to fight for. I don't mind their research. They can isolate, CBC and CBG and THCV, which is supposed to be weight loss,
Weight loss, yeah.
cannabinoid,
Here, there's
CBN, sleeping cannabinoid. That's okay. Do the research on those individual cannabinoids, but make sure that I know that. So in my whole plant product, I can talk to my botanists so that they can breed those cultivars that have both the THC that my patients desire, but those other minor cannabinoids that can give them the effects that they want.
I mean, it is going to come down to, it's going to be more and more scientific for the medical side. But then when they open it for recreational, there's still going to be a big.
I was on a webinar last night where Dr. Bonnie Goldstein, awesome webinar last night. Dustin Sulak, great job. Healer.com. And I got to mention his bunch because he does a great job. He's out of Maine. But Bonnie Goldstein, who is the foremost autism expert in the country when it comes to medical cannabis, she gave a presentation last night. Don, you'll love this. They can do biomarkers by saliva in these children, that are documenting that and this is a study that she's published, that their cannabinoid profiles or their chemical profiles in their saliva will change because of the administration of cannabinoids.
Really?
Yes. So it is, and it's a small study. I think it was 14 kids or something like that, but it is. But the beauty of it is you don't have to draw blood. No, it's just it's a very easy way of following. And listen, for me to use it in my practice right now, we're probably 5 years away, whatever. But it's amazing what we're learning now because we're able to start to look.
Yeah. So imagine when at least the research arm should start opening up, and I think that's going to be so positive. So
the point is all these minor cannabinoids are going to have effects, and we do want to know them. So I welcome pharma, so to speak. I'd rather it be descheduled, and let's talk that and the advantages of that, because descheduling allows pharma to do what pharma do, but doesn't give pharma control. And allows for the decriminalization and the other progressive things that need to be done, expungements and of course minority participation and everything.
It was just
I have no expectation at all, that they're going to go towards rescheduling. Or descheduling. Excuse me. I just don't. Well, even I get confused on.
Yeah, no.
I don't. I haven't heard it really discussed. Every advocate group.
Oh, advocate does, but I'm talking about the political side, not the advocates. The advocates will always advocate, but the political side, no, it's not happening. In both sides, it's really weird. Like you would think by now, so many states have gone full rec. And there's still.
It just seems to be, once again, one of those commonsensical issues that the average citizen, I think in general, if you put them around a big campfire and everything, would come to agreement.
Everybody on it. Cannabis, I think.
Same thing.
Except for maybe Louisiana, a couple of
criminals, possibly. You criminal the people who are in jail.
So
then they would have to recount.
They'd actually have to do reparations. Yeah, a lot of reparations for all those people that were in for minor. That might be because they
tried that in New York. Actually, New York's a mess right now. They can't get their legal adult use sales system together. My daughter called me yesterday, and so basically the MMTCs now up in New York have now been given the license to go ahead and start to sell recreational. And that has now jumped ahead of those people who were all waiting to get those reparations licenses, right?
They don't go to the res.
It's a mess. Listen, I speak to it this way. You can be in a liberal state like New York. You can be in a conservative state like Florida. You got to follow the money.
No,
that's the bottom line. You got, for sure. And it's going to be interesting to see as another thing that Dustin and I talked about. We're waiting to see what goes on with the next 22 licenses. They come out on the OMU update every week. The 2 black farmers are now mentioned on the bottom, right? Of course, they're not producing yet.
No.
But and his timing, he said, what was it, Don? He believed in the next 3 to 4 months or so that they were going to start to,
really start opening it up.
Here's my point. If there's 74 applicants and 22 available, well, that means that there's going to be 52 pissed off people that didn't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's going to lead to lawsuits, and of course, this, that, and probably delays. I really wish that anybody who had a license that was valid, that fulfilled all the aspects of the license,
that they should
would be given their license.
Yeah, I agree.
Open
And
the
those-
market. I don't think all of them are going to succeed.
No, I don't think so
I
either.
really
And-
don't.
And the thing is, like, talk about like competition is good, but when you're the last one out of the gate and you've had already people that have been out in the field working it already for 5 to 7 years, that's hard. It's really hard.
Right.
You're coming in at the bottom of a huge totem pole,
No, definitely.
and the money that's needed, even with that money to get to the level of like the big boys.
And then 1.2 every other year to the state.
Yeah, to
too.
the
They
state,
raised that.
it's extremely.
There's some good things happening in our area, actually, and I may take a little tour tomorrow. Call friend Jenny Freed, who is with Jungle Boys now. They moved into Bonita Springs. So, Naples, Collier is still dry. All Collier County has not a dispensary,
Oh, I didn't know.
but there's a huge auto mile, green mile, right
yeah.
across in Bonita
Bonita,
Springs.
mhm.
So Jungle Boys moved down there, and I was thinking of taking a drive. Also, I was going to circle around down and maybe hit the Gold Leaf, which also has a physical store in Sebring. I haven't been to the
Sebring,
center of
okay.
the state, in a while. So that might be a kind of an interesting circle for a morning. Take Tiva with me, So, I don't know.
To do.
But good things are happening, and it'll be interesting because here in Florida, and I know Don, 857,
I
of
know,
course.
we always-
Listen, cannabis in Florida world right now, and I will speak, I think for what the majority of my patients feel, we're in a pretty good sweet spot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dispensaries.
There's choice now. I think
There
there's
is choice now,
There's choice.
and there's price
And price
choice
choice.
now.
Yeah.
If you're a price conscious
Absolutely.
consumer,
There's
and
a
you pay
lot of
attention
deals up
to
there
the
all the
market,
time.
there are prices that I never imagined
Yeah,
would be
very good
available
deals.
in Florida.
Yeah.
And I think, and I have a theory about this, I think because there's a cap on flour specifically and the other products, the concentrates and that, but flour, of course, most people know is capped at 2.5 ounces every 35 days if you don't have the request for exemption. And the vast majority of our patients do not. And I think the vast majority of the patients are capped at that 2.5. I think that's caused a glut of flour in the state of Florida, Ruta. I do, because there are a lot of dispensaries now and they all have active grows,
Mhm.
and it's a plant. So when they have their harvest cranked up to every 60 or 90 days, I'm not an expert, and you have a certain amount, and I'm not calling out anyone. Can I think of a really generic Blue Dream or Girl Scout cookies? I don't want to get specific to any one dispensary group, but I think is when that cultivar, you've sold it, but you have a bunch left, and here comes the next harvest of it on
it's
top.
starting to stock
Then you're
pile.
going to grind that,
Yeah, you'll grind
and
it.
then you're going to sell it because you don't want to be sitting on it.
No, you don't want to sit on it.
For the patients, that's awesome, because
good
if you're
choice.
price conscious, you can literally get an ounce of ground flour in the 20 some percentile of THC, which is not the most important thing. Everybody, terpene profiles, other minor cannabinoids, but still, people look for the THC percentage. The point is, you can buy that now in Florida, believe it or not, $50 an ounce.
Wow.
Okay, $50 an ounce, which is crazy.
Crazy. Yeah, I had
The
to-
irony of it is that the connoisseur cannabis consumer, or those that look a little bit closer for certain things, they're not necessarily going to buy that product.
No, but it's-
If they had 4 ounces or 5 ounces available, then they may, as a base, so to speak,
Sure.
of product. So it's a very interesting market
it's a
right
different
now.
market.
It
It's
is.
a good market. And I think
It
it's
is. And the
because of
patches and the
our
creams. Listen, we had a patient
technology
yesterday.
and
We had a
science
patient yesterday, and we get them. Our patients are very unique in a lot of ways. I had a guy yesterday that just uses the creams. That's all he uses.
That's all you-
And that's all he uses, Don. And he has to come in through the clinic to get it. He does use a 1-to-1 THC CBD cream, but he uses no other
That's it,
products.
He's happy.
He's happy. It was
That's
great
good.
for him.
Hey, and it satisfies his medical need. That's what's important.
I did not the other day. Listen, everybody, I know these are anecdotal stories, and we're so excited we are having the consortium come out.
Yeah, they are coming out in October.
Right.
So yeah.
So we're all about the research, but I know the stories I hear every day. I had another guy tell me he's had headaches for 30 years, and cannabis is the only thing that has helped him. And he does a couple, draws on a 1-to-1 vape pen, gives him a couple hours of relief.
No, the stories that are here for the studies that we've even done, the commentaries give a lot in every single.
In our surveys, I got to give a big shout out to our staff,
Yeah.
who's out there
surveys do.
maintaining every day. And listen, telehealth's a different pace. just to make the joke that I make with my patients a couple times a day, it'll probably end up on the back of the shirt with next Bernie bingo. I mean, thank God our new patients and everybody, new patients, you still need to be seen physically in your cannabis clinic. If you're changing clinics, okay, you can't do a telehealth visit with a doctor you haven't seen, clinic you haven't been to.
There's a lot of legalities.
There's still shuck and jive going on out there. So our new patients still need to come in. Fortunately, I still get to put on the scrubs. Got a happy face shirt
I was
on.
gonna say you have something underneath.
Happy face, happy face, happy face. Point is that if those new patients didn't have to come in, listen, we have a beautiful office, but I could be sitting in my this is a bad image, Don, sorry. But I could be sitting in my basement in my underwear doing telehealth visits. And I know.
I cannot see
I
that.
know. And that doesn't seem like medicine to me. And interesting, everybody, phone calls only are okay.
Yeah, they are.
So we were included in with the rest of the telehealth world. So we tell our patients, listen, we want to keep them convenient. We want to be thorough. We want to be efficient. We want to be reliable. The educational aspect comes in every day in the clinic. So my most important message to our patients is we don't want the efficiency and ease of telehealth to take over for the educational message in the clinic. So we invite every single patient in at any time to call with questions or come in for an office visit free of charge. People say, what? How can you do that? I said, because I get as much out of those patients as they get out of me. And that's the only way you learn. That's even another whole green room, I think, to a certain extent, is that policy. Listen, they don't teach this in med school and there's no residency program for it. So the only way to really get better, and listen, we saw a patient that I know, from the past yesterday who just looked awesome.
He looked awesome. Yeah. Shout out to a friend of ours that came in and he's on cannabis, and he's doing great. And he looks
we never hit and betray.
Yeah, we
don't sitting here with us,
that.
So it is after 9 somehow, Don.
Also, a quick mark your calendars for October 20th. We're doing our annual open house. So it's going to be from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 5 p.m. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have prizes for best costume. It's almost Halloween. So everybody dress up in Halloween costumes. We're going to have candy, fun, all the dispensaries hopefully will show up. We'll get you a list and get that out to you, but mark your calendars.
Really fun day. Because our medical complex too is so filled with all kinds of different practices.
No, I'm going out to all of them. As soon as we get the flyer up, I'm going to walk around and
people say
the hood.
People say, how do you stay busy? And I say, we just let the doctors in the area know that we're out here doing it with honesty and integrity.
And I'll actually go out and I'll get a list and go up to all the doctor's offices.
20th is the day.
Yeah, the 20th. So I'm going to go hand out some flyers to the ones that refer a lot, invite them over to come out and their staff to come on out. So 20th, mark your date.
Anyway, next week we will be back in the green room now that it's after Labor Day. We're back in school.
And no more white, but we're back in school. So yeah, back in session. And
the weather will start to break a little bit too. We get a little cooler.
Okay, we know the whole planet's on fire. Sweden was in the 80s in September, unheard of. Lithuania in the 90s, unheard of. In the 90s.
We don't have the same air conditioning over there
because they never needed it. So all of a sudden all those countries are like, oh my gosh, we need something now because it's staying hot for a long time and they're not used to it. And people are passing out and melting down. So anyways, have a great weekend, everybody.